What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Investing Bros live show. We've got a whole lot for you today. Now, I want to make sure we understand and we're addressing this right up front. Of course, the title, the thumbnail, they're looking bullish. They're talking about upward trajectory for Bitcoin price. But if you're looking at a chart right now, we've crossed back below $60,000. My joke of the day, everybody, is Bitcoin fell back to prices we haven't seen since yesterday. I'm going to talk about that. Why are we dipping right now? And what does that mean for the future price? But I also want to make sure you understand that what we're going to focus on today, the main point is still when looking at macro details and when you're zooming out and thinking about the next couple of months and years, not the next couple of hours and days, it is hard to be bearish right now. It's very hard not to be bullish. We'll cover that and a whole lot more. But make sure before you do anything else, whether you're on YouTube or X, thank you for being here. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, hit follow, share this video with everybody you know, and we got to roll our in. T-Shroom. All right, the lights are out. Was it nighttime down in Florida right now?
Something like that, Tim.
You just wanted a dark room like me. Sometimes you do better thinking in the dark, I think.
That's right.
Yeah. How are you doing today?
I'm doing better than I deserve, I'd say. And yeah, pretty normal day. Just took the dogs out to relieve themselves before we started the stream.
That's good. How are they liking the new yard?
They like it. It's not fenced in, so we have to walk them on the leash every time they need to tend to their duties. But yeah, it's good. It gets me out of the house, you know.
It does. That's good. Well, you know what? A lot of people I'm already reading chat here, T-Shroom. Some people seem to continue to have their hopes up. There's some people I can feel it in the chat. There are people on the verge of capitulation. I hope by the end of this video we will encourage you guys to continue to be patient, because we told you over the last couple of days, if you thought that we were going to see new all-time highs very, very soon, in the next day or two, you're going to be sorely disappointed. What we're watching right now is that good old word that we talked about yesterday heavily, volatility. This is part of the markets. The question, though, are what are the key prices to start freaking out, or what are the key prices to start rejoicing and talking about new all-time highs coming in the next couple of days or weeks? We're going to cover all of that and more in the video, so make sure you do not go anywhere. Bitcoin just crossed, well, it's kind of flirting with it, crossed below 59,000. Go to my screen here, T-Shirt. Let's go like the 15-minute chart really quickly. We're going to go look at bubbles. We're going to look at a lot of different things, but you guys can see here, Bitcoin, especially within the last like hour and some change, just falling off a cliff, was up here at 60,600, briefly eclipsed a key level I said this morning. I will admit, I thought that we would have rejected on the 1 hour smart trail around 60,800. I told you guys about that this morning. We went a little bit higher, but as a whole, kind of closed our candles right in that zone we talked about. Now we've come back down. We're heading back down towards lower levels of support. It is chaos right now. Stay around, though. Here in a couple of minutes, I will tell you guys the key levels to be watching. But first, let's check in on how we're doing as a whole on the bubbles. You know, a lot of these coins might have had a chance at being closer to green or very small red if we had done this show about an hour ago. But now we got some major red candles in play. Render, part of the AI space, despite the fact that NVIDIA had great reports yesterday, it's down 10.8%, same as FET, which is effectively right now the representation of ASI. So if you used to own AGIX or what was the other? Ocean, I think, and you guys don't know where your coins went, they turned into FET. Either way, those are both AI tokens dramatically down. Interestingly enough, Near is down too, but Near didn't seem to be down as much as the others. Is Near is that the right AI token to hold if you're going to hold AI? T-Shrew might have a hot take for us on that issue later if we come back to the AI space. But it's hard to argue. In the top 100, they are the biggest losers here over the last 24 hours. It's just the details, just the facts. Not going to try to make it a point there. Just reporting the news. Tao's down 8.2. Floki down 8.1. Clay 6.7. Dogs had a nice run yesterday, but it turns out just like T-Shroom's dog, they relieved themselves, and now they're down 6.1% today. Not Coin, thank you for that, T-Shroom. Not Coin down 7.1, Matic down 6.1, Injective down 7%, Arweave down 7.6. A lot of red here, a lot of red. Only big gainer that I see worth mentioning is Flare. Flare's up 5.5%, so it's really kind of avoiding all of the negativity that is currently happening. Let's get into the charts here and let's talk about price action on Bitcoin. Let's start with a more macro perspective. I told you, you guys need to make sure before you freak out, before you worry too much about small price action. And yes, I know that Bitcoin has fluctuated over $1,000 today, but it still is low price action. These are the levels. I'm going to show you my 2 orange lines of where you really should start to think about either an extremely bullish scenario or potentially a very frustrating and elongated bearish scenario. Let's talk about these 2 orange lines. Down here, we have $55,000. As long as we stay above $55,000, ladies and gentlemen, you really should not be that worried about a longer-term bearish perspective. This is all just a part of longer-term volatility. In fact, there's another line I think you could potentially look at here if you're looking at a trend line. This would be tracking our higher lows that are in play right now. And let me pause on that real quickly, because again, we're going to be slowing down our technical analysis, really allowing all of our newer viewers, and maybe you're new to technical analysis, you're new to investing, but you want to learn. I want to help you guys learn as much as possible here on YouTube. But if you want to go deeper, make sure to check out our VIP trading group with our memberships down below. Speaking of really quickly, short shill, we've already announced this to our members. Prices are going to be rising here in a couple of weeks, but anyone who gets in on current price levels for our memberships will be grandfathered into those prices. So if you've been on the fence about joining the memberships and diving deeper into your investing and trading education, act as soon as possible, because here in a little bit, those prices will increase. You do not want to miss out. Let's talk about trend lines here, T-Shroom. If you avoid the first initial dip right here back on August 5th, and you go to where we kind of have regrouped and started a small trend, there's a trend line being formed at the moment from back here on August 6th that has a couple of connections in play, that this is giving us a higher high and higher low formation at the moment. We're still in a bullish trend since back here on August 7th, but that support level, just like yesterday, is once again being tested as we are speaking. So even though if we lose this line, it's not the end of the world, it is going to break what is currently an ongoing bullish trend if it does lose this level here on 59,000. Now, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I think there's a good chance we do lose that level and we do break this formation. And I want to show you here in a little bit why I think we're going to go lower than that. But that is something that if you're doing basic technical analysis, you want to keep in mind, that you want to have this trend line drawn for a rising level of support that currently is being tested. The other thing you'll see here, and let's turn this one red because it was former resistance. I'm going to turn this one green because this was our trending support. This was a former level of resistance over the days between August 8th and the breakthrough on August 21st. This is heavily being retested as well as support. That is a massive support level as well. But again, I'm going to show you why I think we could go a little bit lower and go closer back towards that 58,000 once again. It doesn't change the fact, though, that on these longer time frames, this is still a bullish trend. It's when we come down to 55,000. If this level is lost, there's a very good chance that if 55,000 cannot hold as support, we're probably revisiting $50,000, potentially even coming down below the wick of 49,000 that we set back here on August 5th. If you're asking me, Tim, do you genuinely think that that is going to happen? No, I don't think it's going to happen, but I am very aware of the possibility of it happening, and I know the if-then statements that I need to use for my investing knowledge. If we lose $55,000, then the probability of setting a new low below 50K probably increases to a high probability, in my personal opinion, based off the charts. That being said, we're so far above it. Let me flip the script on you and let's talk about the bullish perspective right now. When should we start getting excited about being bullish? Yes, we've been in a bull trend. Yes, we've seen some impressive price movement over the last couple of weeks. But you can tell here, this orange line I have for my bullish line, 65,000, has been my line in the sand I've had now for a couple of weeks as being the defining factor of what separates this current bearish move from becoming bullish once again. What I'm looking at here is I'm looking at my smart trail from Algo. This is my daily smart trail. This red cloud, it demonstrates a average price action of heavy resistance that as long as price stays below it, in the technicality of it all, the bears are still in control. I need to break above this level to recapture bullish control, and that level is going to be $65,000. I've been saying that for a couple of weeks. I'm still saying that today. While all of this pump that has happened has been very encouraging, and I love to see it, until we break and close a candle body, which is each one of these candles, until I see a daily candle close above 65,000, it's not yet time to be talking about all-time highs being days or weeks away. Once we get above there, in the same way, a break below 55,000 means we're probably dropping lower. A break above 65,000 means we are probably starting to make our moves back up towards 70K, up to new all-time highs, and before you know it, over the next couple of months, that move closer toward $100,000. That is what you need to know about right now. But remember earlier when I told you I'm not quite certain if these support levels are going to hold or not? Well, to kind of answer that question of why I'm thinking we probably are going to drop a little bit lower, we're going to take a look at liquidation maps. Again, a lot of you have seen these. A lot of you know what they are. If you don't, in a nutshell, these are levels that this chart is telling us these are prices where there's heavy liquidations, either long positions, meaning people that are trading and buying Bitcoin, or short positions, which are people that are betting against Bitcoin. This chart tells you where prices are that would make a lot of liquidations go away. Manipulators love to target these yellow zones to get rid of traders. In this case, we are still watching a fat stack of long liquidations down here as far as where? 58,400. In fact, there's a kind of a bunch that would take us all the way back down here towards 58,000. You go back over to the Bitcoin chart. This, of course, is where we just were over the last couple of days. Are we going to see a triple bottom in this zone? If I were to make another small box between 58 and 58.4, this is a target right here. Let me change this box to blue, and I'll make the middle blue as well, just to give it some change. There we go. Well, that is not helpful whatsoever. Well, you can still see it there a little bit. That box is something that if we cannot hold this blue line of support, this rising level of support, do not be surprised whatsoever to at least see a wick come down into this blue box, possibly set a triple bottom here at 58,000, which starts to, I'm going to be very honest with you, starts to give you a little bit of cause for concern. Because when you're dealing with levels of support or resistance and you start to see a lot of touches on those levels, the probability of that level being broken dramatically increases. Go back to my screen here, T-Shroom. You guys can see here at the moment, 58,000 was a double bottom opportunity. That's actually extremely bullish. It shows how strong 58,000 really was. But if we come back down and touch 58,000 again, I'm not saying it's going to break that time, but it does show that the bears have not given up their bearish pressure. And if we rally and come back and touch it a fourth time, I want you to imagine like a hammer on a concrete block. The first time you hit the block, the probability of you breaking that block is probably pretty low. The second time, it's probably still pretty low, but you're starting to do some damage to that concrete. When you hit a third and fourth and fifth and sixth time, there's a high probability that somewhere in that a bunch of hitting, there we go, or was that a jackhammer? Eventually the concrete's going to break, right? And so it's the same way in technical analysis when looking at levels of support and resistance. One touch, strong support. Two touches, double bottom, that's bullish. Three touches, we better think about this might be a level that gets lost. Four touches, it's not looking good. Five touches and on there, we're probably looking at the high probability of the support level being broken. So what I'm ultimately telling you guys here, keep an eye on this box, keep an eye on anywhere in this level, and if we come down here, you do want to start to explore the concept of this support level being broken. What do you do with that information, ladies and gentlemen? Because some of you might be freaking out. Well, let me talk to my traders here for a second. This is why we both teach investing and short-term trading, because investing, you look for every single dip opportunity just to buy. The long-term trajectory for Bitcoin is bullish. It's up and to the right, and you buy every dip. But it's nice when you're a trader, you can sometimes trade against the long-term bullish movement. You can hedge your positions and short the market to add to your long-term bags. Go back to my screen here, T-Shroom. If we lose $58,000, you're looking at a potential short position that you can set up. What you would look for, let me just make sure I get this drawn correctly. Let's say we drop below and close some candles below. I'm going to be looking for a re-entry on this being turned into resistance. I'm going to set up my short position with my entry point there right below 58,000. I already told you a significant level of support is going to be 55. I'm going to go just a little bit above it because I don't want to miss out. And I'll put a nice little stop loss up here back towards, if we were to break above resistance, we could get interesting again. But as a whole, if we lose 58K, I'm looking at the opportunity for a short position on Bitcoin, but as a whole, all the way down here towards $55,000. That's what I'm doing right now in the markets. That's what I'm looking at these charts and saying. With that being said, though, I want to make sure you guys understand. This is a trading setup I just gave you. When it comes to your long-term investing, I know the price markets are confusing you. I know the volatility is extremely frustrating. I know a lot of you were hoping that we would already have seen new all-time highs by now. And unfortunately, that's not something we have control over. But what we do have control over is making sure we're setting ourselves up for long-term success. And to do that, you really want to pay attention to heavy details that tell us how bullish or bearish we are at the moment. And there is a metric that has come out today that is extremely bullish. And even though the price action is down, this is something that should be triggering every single crypto holder to want to accumulate as much crypto in the next couple of days and weeks as possible. T-Shroom, tell us more about this metric. What do we have going on that should remain bullish in everyone's perspective on Bitcoin?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get into it right on the other side of you smashing the like button. Smash that like button, and we will get on into this next bullish signal. We're at 168 likes. Let's at least get up to 190 by the time we are done with this story here. Bitcoin reserves drop to yearly low, signaling bull market as long-term investor interest grows. This is a really good sign, bros. Let's get into the details here. Bitcoin reserves reaching yearly lows on exchange. Recent metrics indicate that Bitcoin reserves held on exchange have plummeted to their lowest levels this year. This shift may suggest a decrease in immediate selling pressure as investors appear to be taking a more conservative stance towards their assets. According to analysis conducted by CryptoQuant, the downward trend in exchange reserves could be a precursor to bullish momentum, contingent or continued demand from the investing public. And then there's a conclusion here. The decline of Bitcoin reserves on exchange, coupled with an increase in long-term holding strategies, presents a compelling narrative about the future of the cryptocurrency market. As investors continue to place their faith in Bitcoin's potential, the dynamics surrounding supply and demand and market sentiment could lead to a robust bullish market. Now, there was a lot in there, but essentially what it all means is people are taking their Bitcoin off reserves. What does that mean? That's signaling to the market that investors' intent is not to sell, is to take steps away from selling by putting that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies onto cold wallets and off of exchanges. So, Tim, just how bullish is this? And do we have any corollaries, perhaps? It's just a curiosity of mine coming in real time. Are there any corollaries to these exchange reserves correlating with bottoms in Bitcoin's price?
Absolutely. Well, let me go a little further and educate all of our newer viewers here. What we're talking about here with reserves on exchanges, there's two different types of things going on. T-Shroom kind of hinted at the side of maybe what you and I hold. Like, okay, so everyone has to go purchase their cryptocurrency on an exchange. And for a short period of time, it's housed there. We always encourage people, especially the more mature you are in the market, if it's not your keys, it's not your crypto. What I mean by that is when you own Bitcoin, let's say on Coinbase, yes, you own code. You own, but hypothetically, a piece of paper that says I have one whole Bitcoin. It's being housed on Coinbase, but legally, you don't have the keys to control it. They're housing it for you. That Bitcoin technically belongs to them, and you have pretty much a piece of paper or a code that you can go in and say, well, I bought this. I'd like to go take it. We encourage you to take that and move it into what's called a cold wallet. This is storage where you have all the control, the keys, and everything that keeps that Bitcoin or whatever cryptocurrency you're holding safe. What we're watching right now is not only users historically move their Bitcoin and crypto off exchange, which means they cannot sell it. It's being housed there for a long period of time. We're also seeing these exchanges like Coinbase and Binance run out of their own reserves to offer new buyers. What does that mean? Well, for you to go onto Coinbase and buy Bitcoin, they have to have liquidity for you to buy, meaning they have to have Bitcoin for you to give them your hard-earned dollar or Chinese yuan or British pound. You have to give them something so that you can receive that crypto from them. They're running low. Simple economics. You don't even have to be like T. Shroom and finish top of your class to know this. Economics is that when supply and demand move, when the supply lowers and demand increases, the price of that asset will increase. Well, when we're not seeing the demand quite come in yet, we are seeing the supply lower down. And we are watching the likes of BlackRock and several others buy. And it's only a matter of time before they decide the news that they control to trigger mass FOMO, fear of missing out. They'll want to get everyone in there buying. The demand will rise. And because of that low supply, the price will have to increase. But here's the other thing. You know what? They want to make sure that they house all of their buy orders in Coinbase or in Binance. So Coinbase is going to have to go purchase some Bitcoin right now to restock all of their owning so that when you come to buy it, they have liquidity to give you. This is something that's extremely bullish. And T-Shirt asked me, Tim, is there a time period or a correlation that we could go back to? Well, I don't know if I have it right in front of me, but we actually discussed this story a couple of weeks ago. It's just getting less and less and less. We are approaching the same levels of where we were back in November of 2018. Let's take a little stroll, T-Shroom, and look at what Bitcoin's price was doing in November of 2018. That's pretty crazy that even back here in the bear market bottom, November 2022, we did not approach these levels. In fact, what we're talking about is coming all the way back here to these levels. I think I said November, but I think it's the November, December area, the bottom of the bear market back in 2018. And this is something that is pretty phenomenal. Of course, that would mark a bottom that would house a very bullish bull market over the next couple of years. But we are now sitting up at $60,000 at the same levels that price was, what is this, over, not quite, was that 6 years ago? Not great at math. Yeah, 6 years, 2024. Take away 4 equals 2018. There you go. You learned something new on math as well. We're seeing the same exact levels, despite the fact that price is $57,000 higher. And yet, this is an extremely bullish catalyst. I just explained to you logically why it is. But even when you compare these types of numbers to past data, you'll see, even though we're lower now, we had extremely low supply way back here in the fall of 2022. We had extremely low supply, if I were to go to a longer time frame, way back in the earlier, say, quarter one of 2015. These signals mark major bottom opportunities before the price goes parabolically to the upside. This is why I'm saying, yes, I understand people's concerns. If I'm looking at the 1 hour chart and I see this massive, I got to zoom in here and show you guys. If I see this massive 1 hour bearish candle, I understand why you're frustrated. I do. I get it. But when I zoom out and I look at long time frames and I look at data points like what we just talked about, this is still an extremely bullish market. And the fact that we are still sitting just a little south of all-time highs, and yet we're seeing the same type of bullish metrics to what we've seen previously at the bottom of bear markets, if that doesn't make you excited about the future of Bitcoin, I don't know what else to say. I mean, that is one of the biggest factors we're looking at right now as to why Bitcoin's bull market is nowhere close to over. And that's why I'm telling you guys, I'm not saying we're hitting 70,000 here in the next couple of days. I'm not saying that we don't go all the way back down to 55,000. I'm not maybe predicting it, but I think the possibility is there. What I do know, though, is in the grand scheme of things, the prices we are looking at right now are the greatest prices you will see moving forward, because I put a tweet out earlier today. Just like every other time previously, in 2030, I cannot wait to have conversations, people, where they said, wow, you got to buy Bitcoin at $60,000. Man, I wish I could have bought Bitcoin at 60,000. In the same way, T-Shroom, if you were to go back here, we would come back to this and say, wow, somebody purchased Bitcoin at $15,000. I wish I had purchased Bitcoin at $15,000. Well, back here, $15,000 was stinking close to the all-time high. And right here, they were saying, wow, I wish I could have bought Bitcoin back here at $1,000. Well, back here, that was the all-time high. Maybe you guys get where I'm going with this. Are we high right now compared to recent price action? Absolutely we are. But if you're waiting for 20,000 to come back into the cards, sorry, honey, that's not going to happen. In the future, though, people will be jumping all over each other to say that they could get a hold of Bitcoin at $60,000. You have the opportunity right now. So if you have dry powder that you've been holding out, I'm not giving you financial advice. You guys do whatever you want to do with your money. But as for Tim Warren and his money, he is deploying a lot of that dry powder that he's been having, especially with metrics just like this.
Absolutely. And we're right where we need to be. A lot of folks are feeling bearish, right? They're feeling bearish. This is a chart that we don't pull up very often, but it's one that I'm a fan of. It doesn't get everything right. It's a stock to flow model. Let me know in the chat right now. Is this a chart that you think is still intact? Do you think it's completely been debunked? What I want to point out here is that if you look at historically, after the halving cycle, we go through a blue and then a red period. And the blue and the red period are characteristic of pretty sideways but still somewhat volatile movement. Back in here in 2016, we saw this transition. We saw this in 2020 before the big move higher. And then we're seeing it now, right? Mostly sideways, blue into red transition. As you can see here, we are absolutely just kind of coiling like a snake. And while you all feel, and I feel for you, I feel similarly, like we're just going nowhere day after day after day, week after week. Bitcoin just going sideways, can't seem to shake that 60,000 gravity that's got a stranglehold on it. Just because you feel that way, that's actually bullish because it's consolidating here, coiling up like a snake that's ready to strike. Now, I'm assuming, I'm betting with how I'm invested, that movement's going to be to the upside, and that the bull market is far from over. We've only seen the first and second leg, and the third and fourth leg are still to come. So very, very exciting stuff, Tim. Anytime folks are taking money off the exchange, anytime exchanges are running low on reserves for especially Bitcoin, right? That's not a moment you want to be selling. Right? It's a moment you want to be trying to be honest with you, probably deploying a little bit more in your DCA than you usually would to kind of hurry up, so to speak. I mean, that's definitely what our thumbnail is implying today is, time is running out. Does that mean that Bitcoin's going to skyrocket in the next 30 days? Not necessarily. And to be honest with you, I think that the US elections have a lot to do with why Bitcoin has been sideways, right? But it's just a matter of time, and I believe we will be making a move higher. So,
T-Shroom, real quickly, in the light of how we're really moving here, again, we're going to be having, if we don't have a lot of new listeners right now, we definitely will over the next couple of months. We want to make sure we're explaining everything in detail to the best of our ability so people can learn. Pakasad, I don't know if that's how his name is said, but we're going to go with it, has a great point. He said, explain what stock to flow is for dummies. And he put in parentheses, me. Pakasad, I don't think you're a dummy. You've been here for quite a while. Love having you here. But it's a great point. There might be multiple people in chat right now who have maybe heard or seen that S2F, stock to flow. But T-Shroom, in a nutshell, what does that describe to anyone who's newer to investing?
It's a concept that is it's a transplant from traditional investing into stocks and commodities specifically. It's kind of like, how much corn is coming out of the fields today versus how much there already is in store. And so they've applied similar principles to Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining and the halving cycle. But the official kind of description here is, what is Bitcoin stock to flow? The stock to flow is a number that shows how many years at the current production rate are required to achieve the current stock. The higher the number, the higher the expected price. Why does this chart use a 463-day time span? This person came up with the number of a 463 time span because he believed Bitcoin cycles happen in 3 phases: the bull run, the correction, and the reversion to the mean. So right now we're kind of right in the middle of the bull run. You could even argue that we're in the correction and then the reversion to the mean. But if we zoom out on this, it's actually, and this is the part where a lot of people discount, or they say that stock to flow is complete crap, is that the stock to flow is showing that we would be at 1.2 million by 2025. The market cap required for us to get to that level would be quite a bit higher. However, the stock to flow model has predicted before quite accurately that Bitcoin kind of gets way overbought, gets a lot of euphoria, and then it reverts to a mean, and then it explodes again, gets overbought, and then reverts to the mean. And then more recently, the explosion has been more subdued. And in this last bear market, the bear market itself and the sagging versus the stock was actually quite a bit exaggerated. So, now the market is, and this is why we talk about institutions so much, the market is counting on institutions to come in and start buying Bitcoin. And you might say, well, T-Shroom, are they? And I would say emphatically yes. We are seeing pension funds in the United States, the Wisconsin Pension Fund, the city of New Jersey, and all across the world. There are major, very hyper-conservative funds that manage trillions of dollars, and in some cases, tens of trillions of dollars. They are buying Bitcoin, right? And they're doing that for a variety of reasons. But there is a new kid on the block selling Bitcoin, and that is Wall Street. And so their customers are institutions, and they're collecting fees from selling ETF instruments, and that's what it's going to take for us to get to that $1 million valuation for Bitcoin. It's in my opinion, won't happen this cycle, right? But the stock to flow model is predicting that. Let me know in the chat if you guys would like to learn more about the stock to flow, if that's something you'd like to see us cover more often. But there is a lot of controversy around it. Not everybody is a big fan of it.
Well, it's time to flip, and we've covered a lot of bullishness. Now, in my technical analysis, I gave you guys a short-term bearish perspective, then gave you the short-term bullish perspective, talked about the macro bullishness, and, of course, this last story, as we look at exchange flows, keeps you very, very bullish. There is an opinion piece being put out right now. I'm not saying that this is the story of the day that's causing the crash in price, but it is an opinion that could bring lower price levels to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and several other coins. Let's flip the script right now, T-Shroom. Let's read an article that has a little more negativity, but let's unpack it. Let's discuss and have a discussion around the validity of the statements made here.
Absolutely, Tim. Well, here we go. U.S. PCE inflation to come in hot. Bitcoin and Ethereum to face huge liquidations. So let's get into some fact and opinion mixed in. I'll be sure to highlight both. The U.S. Federal Reserve, maybe you've heard of them, preferred gauge to measure inflation, personal consumption expenditure, PCE, is expected to come in slightly hot, as per U.S. economist. That's who we're going to be hearing from, the opinion of this economist. This will likely cause the U.S. FOMC to deliberate again and starting Fed rate cuts in September. Bitcoin and Ethereum prices will also witness further selling pressure if the PCE inflation comes in higher. The U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis will release U.S. PCE inflation data for July and on Friday, August 30th. So that's the day to be paying attention. That's tomorrow, and we will absolutely be going live to bring you all this information. In fact, Tim, we'll be going live 9 a.m. tomorrow, correct?
Yeah, we went live today at 9 a.m. to cover GDP. That ended up being very short-term bullish, got us up to over $61,000, and of course we're cooling off now back down towards 59,400. That being said, tomorrow's PCE data is going to be another opportunity to maybe make a mount and run back up towards 65,000. If you guys were watching earlier, 65,000 is the line in the sand that until we get above and close above 65,000, it's hard to be too bullish for the long-term future, although I think it is going to happen. It's a question of when, not if. But tomorrow could go a long way in doing that. If the PCE data is either on point with what was expected or lower, that would absolutely give the Fed, Jerome Powell and the rest of the Federal Reserve, the strength and conviction to go ahead and move forward with a 25 basis point cut. But what's being talked about in this article, I want to discuss it and break it down. It is a fact that if that data comes in hot, that we will see the Fed have to have further conversation about whether or not they actually want to lower rate cuts. The opinion, though, is that it will come in hot. In fact, if you look at all recent data points, we've seen everything: inflation number, job reports, GDP, everything given over the last month has absolutely been positive, showing that on a data front, the inflation numbers, the PCE numbers, the unemployment numbers are cooling off and staying at healthy levels. So I'm not 100% certain where this person is coming from with their assumptions that we're going to see hot numbers, other than maybe, does it pay to be a contrarian to get your name and your opinion put in a headline? I mean, if everyone thinks PCE is going to be low, you're not going to see an article on every single person with that opinion.
Right.
But the one person that stands out and says, I disagree, I think PCE is going to be high, well, that is worthy of an article. But is it just that? Is this simply someone catching a headline to have their name read by thousands, if not millions of people, that will temporarily throw retail investors off? All the while, all signs are pointing towards PCE numbers being favorable and Federal Reserve having the ability to cut rates. T-Shroom, chime in there. What is your thought? Do you think there's any validity to this person's statements? Do you agree that it seems like it's a little bit of just more of a contrarian point of view rather than actual details and facts?
Well, let's get into it. Let's see what he says. So the name here is Jose Torres. He's a senior economist at Interactive Brokers. He said, we're going to see continued progress on inflation. So that's a pretty neutral statement. He attributed this to falling prices for goods, along with crude oil and gasoline. However, crude oil, natural gas, and gold prices are soaring today, making traders cautious. So that is really kind of the smoking gun here, is that while Jose Torres is saying that inflation is going to make continued progress in this latest PCE print, the author of the article is actually taking a position that while Jose Torres may have been right at the beginning of the day, crude oil, natural gas, and gold prices are soaring, which are weighted against PCE. So, look, this is clearly a bit of FUD here. Is there a chance it could be right? I suppose so. How much is oil up today? It's up a decent amount here. It's up 2.29% this morning. Or this afternoon, getting up above that midline of the Bollinger Band. But this is not enough to make a hot print on PCE, in my opinion. So Jose Torres, the author of this article, just getting caught up in kind of the media frenzy that happens every time there's an economic print of data. And ultimately, my thought here is Jerome knows what he's doing in September, right? I think the FOMC board, they know what they're doing. The question is going to be, is it 50 basis points or 25 basis points cut? So that's really the question. And I think they're going to go 25.
I think another thing to keep in mind here, of course, this indicator or this PCE number is not going to reflect what prices were doing today or yesterday or this week. It's a lagging indicator. And when you look at the oil chart, we have been in a bearish trend. A bear trend is something where we're setting lower highs, lower peaks, and lower lows. Since the high back on July 5th, we have been inversely trading to the crypto markets, setting lower highs and lower lows. That would imply, if the argument is that oil prices should have a major impact on PCE, well, in that case, oil prices have been coming down during the time period of which these data points are going to reflect. So once again, I think it's very good that people are aware of this thought, and I think it's very good for people to understand that September's rate cuts will have the options of staying paused. I don't think they're going to raise rates, but they could stay paused. And this scenario, if PCE numbers are hot, meaning they're higher than expected, it could cause Jerome Powell and the Fed to say, you know what? Inflation's not where we want it to be. It's still out of control. We need to keep interest rates higher for a little bit longer. If it meets expectations or goes lower, a 25 basis point cut more than likely is in the cards. And even though there's still a possibility of a 50 basis point cut, which would be bearish, we explained that a little bit more this morning. With recent job report numbers, I think the door and the window on 50 basis points is closing. I will not be surprised whatsoever as we get closer towards September for the real conversation to be between potential bad inflation numbers causing another pause or favorable employment and inflation numbers saying it's time to pivot and cut by 25 basis points. That would be extremely bullish for the markets, even when you look at the history of it all. T-Shroom, it's 3:41. I want to make sure we save at least 10 minutes to do some Q&A technical analysis because recently, especially with our switch of doing more educational technical analysis, I want to save some time at least for today to do maybe some of my speed demon TA, give some people some quick and dirty technicals on what they're looking at for their coins. I know a lot of people right now are appreciating our slower, more educational approach, but I'm sure we have some people saying, you know what, rip the Band-Aid off. Let's go fast. Let's get into it nitty gritty. We're going to do some of that today, but let's run through any other headlines extremely quickly. Yeah. Let's get our factoid of the day in, and then we'll do some Q&A to wrap out the show.
Absolutely, Tim. Here, well, reported pretty well here by Bitcoin Magazine. $79 billion Dell Technologies. Their Q2 earnings call is scheduled for today. Will they disclose any Bitcoin holdings? It's a question that the markets
would be bullish,
kind of holding their breath to ask. This man here, Michael Dell, after all, did put out this tweet. Let's see when this was, July 15th. So obviously Q2. Fascinating Bitcoin. Fascinating hashtag Bitcoin on this clip. I'm not going to play the clip, but Larry Fink kind of talking bullish about Bitcoin, right? So I don't know. Tim, what do you think? Do you think that there's going to be some Bitcoin on Dell Computer's balance sheet?
I honestly have no idea because that's not a thing that I'm tracking. I love the rumors, though. I think it'd be bullish if it is true, but let's not put the cart before the horse. We have been teased by rumors of things like this in the past and only have it be disappointed. Let's wait until it comes out, but this would be bullish if it ends up happening.
Absolutely. All right, well, something that is in the works, not speculation, crypto exchange Hashkey opens Avax and Link sales to retail investors in Hong Kong. So if you're watching from Hong Kong, first of all, thanks for watching. Smash the like button. And second of all, you may be able to get your hands on some Avax and Chainlink, some RWA plus tokens that I guess aren't available right now in Hong Kong, but maybe soon. It's ones that I hold quite a bit of, Avax and Chainlink. Tim, you've got some Avax as well, right?
I have Avax and Chainlink pretty heavily in my portfolio. Nice. I wanted to say here, we're being quick here, moving on, but do not underestimate how bullish it is that Hong Kong retail investors will have access to those now. That is a very large market for trading different cryptocurrencies and stocks as well. Hong Kong, while it's not necessarily a very large population entity, there is a lot of wealth in Hong Kong. So them now having the ability to freely trade, it's going to open up a lot of windows. We already know Avax and Link fundamentally being real-world asset plays that are being backed by some of the largest companies in the world. Already we're bullish. Now you're opening the Hong Kong market. I would go scoop some of that up if you haven't had enough in your portfolio yet.
Yeah. Here we go. Jeffrey Lang said, not bashing crypto, but it's been a hard 6 months. Tim, I'm seeing so much pessimism in the chat. It's actually making me pretty excited, making me pretty bullish.
Yep.
Haven't seen this much pessimism in a while. To me, this may be kind of showing that retail is starting to reach those final levels of capitulation, meaning selling, unfortunately. And maybe the institution's boat has been brought back and is ready to leave shore and head off into the wild blue yonder, as they say. What is that from? The wild blue yonder. But yeah, so that's going to conclude our stories here, Tim. I think it's time to get into the factoid of the day.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. Factoid of the day brought to you all by the tax pros we trust with our personal and business taxes, decrypted.tax. Check out the link in the description. In September 2016, which bank got a $185 million fine for opening over 1.5 million checking and savings accounts and 500,000 credit cards for customers without their consent? Tim, was it A, Chase Bank? B, UBS? C, Bank of America? Or was it D, Wells Fargo?
Very interesting question. I want to say all of the above. I feel like all of these banks could be guilty of this.
Okay.
I want to see what chat says because this is going to be very hard. I know. I don't know if the elf was listening to our earlier conversation today, T-Shroom, about a story that involved Wells Fargo. So I wonder if, just like the CIA, they listen in on our phones, these factoid elves.
Sure.
I'm wondering if it's D, and I'm not getting necessarily a lot of confidence. Junior is saying A, and I went against Junior a couple of days ago, and it did not play out well. So, Junior, I need you to let me know if you know this for a fact or if you're just casting an opinion, because I'm really leaning towards Wells Fargo. But it's hard to go against Junior because he was so right.
Nathan Sherwood said it happened to him. Interesting.
Nathan Sherwood, what do you say it is then, Nathan? Nathan, give me your opinion.
And he said Wells Fargo, so interesting.
All right, we'll go in with Wells Fargo. I liked it. Was my hunch anyway, and it seems like we have an inside source confirming it. Let's go with D, Wells Fargo.
It was Wells Fargo. That's right.
Now, this is going to be an interesting factoid, but what's going to be more interesting is probably sharing the story we were talking about earlier.
Maybe. I don't know that we need to. We'll see.
It's not a bad story.
So this is the official Wikipedia page, and Wikipedia never lies, as we know, of Wells Fargo. We've already read the statistics about the fake accounts being created. It led to the firing of nearly 5,300 employees. Tim, were caught up in this scheme, and $5 million had to be set aside for customer refunds on fees to their account that customers never wanted in the first place. Let us know in the chat. Were you like Nathan Sherwood, where it happened to you? This is insane. I remember when this happened, the stock price of Wells Fargo took a hit, and they actually accredited it. At the end of the day, they accredited it to a very strange phenomenon where there was a building somewhere in, I think, want to say Southern California, where there was a huge sales building for Wells Fargo, and so they were selling accounts all day, and the CEO for some reason the CEO of Wells Fargo corporate moved his offices to that location, and I think it might have been like Planet Money back when I was listening to Planet Money a lot on NPR, and they were covering this and going into detail. Because of the tension and the power dynamics between the CEO and the sales floor, that is what directly caused all of this fraud. Because the CEO apparently would come down to those sales floors and just like crack the whip. Come on, guys. Come on. Let's sell. Which is just really, really funny to think about. Now, Tim, something not funny to think about is something you alluded to, which is another story, which I don't have a headline for, but apparently, unfortunately, a woman working for Wells Fargo was found deceased, but she had been there for, I think, 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, her coworkers found her after 4 days. Yeah, sitting at her desk. Crazy. I mean, what Strange. Is it like to work at Wells Fargo that someone can pass away probably within a couple of feet of you, and just because there's a light stink in the air, people don't want to intrude. They don't want to go around and check a cubicle. How is it even possible? I don't know. Weird story. Of course, our heart goes out to the family of whoever it was that lost their life at Wells Fargo. Well, Fargo, do better. Have more meetups with your employees so they get to know each other and check in on each other from time to time, at least once every 4 days.
Yeah. I'll just say, I don't think this has too much to do with Wells Fargo. I think this is just a statistical, unfortunate occurrence.
Weird story. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of people work for Wells Fargo. Could have been any other place.
Let's do some technical analysis, guys. We have about 10 minutes left in the show. Go ahead and start dropping some coins you guys want to see. Of course, if there's other questions, we can answer them as well. And I'm going to try to do the best I can to explain what I do. But if you guys see me doing technical analysis and you think, oh my goodness, what tools is he using? How do I use those tools? How do I learn to trade and do technical analysis just like Tim? This is all of the stuff that we cover with our VIP traders, and we teach them and trade with them over in our Discord. So you can do technical analysis. If you want to learn Lux Algo, if you want to learn the others, make sure you join our Discord. The cool thing about Lux Algo, if you purchase Lux Algo with our link, which I do a lot of my technical analysis with it, it is killing it in the trading game. You get access to the VIP trading group just because you purchase Luxalgo with our link. You just got to let us know your email you use to sign up and plug you into the Discord, and you're good to go. So with that said, let's look at what people are asking for. I see Avax, a good amount. I see Caspa, Phantom, Jasmine. Let's start off with some, and I see Ada as well. Ada Ace asking for some Ada. Let's start off with Avax, though. Let's go take a look over here. I did some Avax TA this morning. Let's just start off by letting you guys know what we're looking at in a more macro perspective on the daily chart is a falling wedge pattern. This is a very bullish pattern with a price target of $37, $38 to the upside coming when we break through this red level of resistance. That being said, that's not what we're dealing with right now. Let's check out and let's spend the majority of our time on the 4-hour chart, which kind of gives us a good indication of what could happen over the next day or up to 3 to 4 days in the future. What I'm watching right now is we are under a sell order back here, this red sell order that Luxalgo gave us. We lost our daily support blue level smart trail, and now we've hit our take profit levels. The only problem is we're continuing to pick up momentum to the downside. I'm watching right here. You guys see this yellow box? It's what we call a bullish breaker block, a level that used to be strong resistance, but we flipped back here on August 19th, and now it's like super powered support. I could easily see us falling all the way back down towards 2150 here for AVAX. That zone is going to be very, very interesting to keep an eye on. But let's look even further and look at what our oscillators are saying. If I can click on it, there we go. We recently did bottom out. We saw bullish divergence. We've seen some flipping on oscillators. However, there's a big however. There could be another big crash to downside where oscillators don't necessarily get as low and we end up seeing greater reversal bullish divergence. But one of the things that's keeping me from flipping and saying it's time to buy, we've had our bullish reversals, these green dots and green triangles. We see the oscillators moving to the upside, but check out the green and red cloud, which we depict as our money flow. It's continuing to move to the downside. And therefore, if you look at it, the price is moving to the downside, going to new lows we haven't seen since back here over on August 20th, right? So it's been about a little over a week since we've been at these levels. That is something that I do not feel confident about AVAX returning to higher highs and higher lows until we see this money flow flip to the upside. And if it does that and the oscillator is coming back to a really high level, we could still be in trouble. But as long as this oscillator stays below this 50 line, when we get a flip of that money flow, that should be our trigger to be bullish once again. With that being said, though, would not be surprised to see AVAX potentially pull back down once again to this bullish breaker block, a key level of liquidity, lots of buying and selling. In this case, more buying than selling. 2150 is a target to watch for AVAX. Let's keep moving on here and take a look at some others. We did Link this morning. I just did AVAX. That was a repeat. So I'm going to stay away from Link. Just because I want to cover some more. Let's do Suie. Someone asking for Suie in chat. It's not every day that we break down the Suie charts. Let's start off by just observing the daily chart. I just kind of want to focus on what we have going on the daily, and then we'll revisit some of the others. Excuse me, a little bit of lunch coming back up. I don't know what that is. All right, here we go. Falling channel here recently had played out, but we broke into the upside. However, does this mean that we're going to continue to the upside, or are we pulling back down, retesting support as resistance? On the daily chart, oscillator right here, we recently had a nice sell order, red reversal, bearish momentum, negative money flow, and excessive sellers. So that is what's pushing price to the downside. The daily chart right now on Suie is bearish, and the daily chart gives us a target for potential support coming back in. Oh, would you look at that, guys? Remember I said right beforehand, could we come back and retest our former resistance level and turn to support? Well, there's a daily smart trail that's in play at those same levels. And when I see the negativity on the oscillators and I see that support level coming in, it's hard not to pinpoint that as the target that I am looking for. So we don't even have to go to the 4-hour chart. I'm looking to put in a buy order, or at least I'm not addressing and seeing if I want to purchase Suie again until we've cooled off back down here towards 65, 66 cents. There's your Suie TA. Let's keep going on here. What else do we have? It's been a minute since we checked on one of my newer coin favorites. So what I mean by that is I like a lot of coins that are older. I love the fundamentals, but there's some new projects out there that I'm bullish on, even if price has not been great. Ando is one of them. Let's check out the daily chart here now. A little bit of concern people need to be aware of. I don't know if this is going to play out perfectly or not, but we did recently get a sell order on the daily chart for Ando. So just want to make sure people are aware of that. That would give us the conservative take profit says 45 cents. Now, this doesn't pass the sniff test for me for a lot of other technical analysis, but let's just pretend disaster scenario comes to play out. If we lose this level of support here, then that probability of 45 cents definitely increases. With that said, though, there is going to be a lot of support in the area down here. When I take a look at our oscillators, we're in a very neutral zone here on the daily chart. Not overly bullish, not overly bearish. Our money flow, after being negative here more recently, is curving over and giving us a neutral perspective. Are we about to see it flow positively? Maybe, but I'm not going to be looking at this daily chart. There's nothing on here with the technical analysis that gives me heavy conviction either way at this point in time. So to get a better analysis, I need to go look at the 4-hour chart. And what I see here is we had a sell order on a similar time frame on the 4-hour chart, but in this case, our take profit was coming in mixed with this order block. I'll explain order blocks here in a second, but this order block, major support level with our take profit here at 64 cents. This gives me a lot more stability and confidence that this was the level Ando was supposed to come back to. You can see here, after falling to this level the other day, we rallied back up, bumped our head on bearish breaker blocks. Remember that yellow box I talked about being super bullish? Well, in this case, this pink block, it's super bearish. If you want to learn more about that, again, I teach that to our VIP traders. Go check it out over there. But going back to the order block is simply a level. If you were to go back here to August 7th, you can see this was a bottom formation before we had a rally come back up above 80 cents. What this indicates is this is the last level of significant buying and is going to be a very key psychological level for traders to get out of their positions. What I'm looking at here to depict, is this a bullish order block or a bearish order block, is the red and green lines. These lines communicate exhaustion. And if I have a larger red line, that means if we come back down towards 64 cents, the bears will be extremely exhausted. The green line says where the bulls are exhausted. And there's going to be some of them, but as a whole, you're looking at longer red bars and shorter green bars being support beams of order blocks. In this case, the liquidity back at this level is something that suggests the bears will exit their shorts, the bulls will want to buy. This should be a strong level of support, in which case then it's all about getting back above not just this breaker block, but remember the smart trails, the red smart trail. We have a 4-hour one sitting here at 71 cents. Until we break above there, it's going to be very choppy, very volatile price action. But when we do break that level, we could have a nice run all the way back up to this order block and resistance level around 80 cents once again. That is the technical analysis on Ando. T-Shroom, I think we have time for probably one more. Before I get there, though, when I'm choosing it, any announcements we need to make? I can think of one. Tonight at 7 p.m., we have our VIP trading group lesson. We were supposed to use on Monday, but of course, some people mentioned in chat, our channel got deleted on Monday. We got it back by Tuesday, but I wasn't able to teach people. Tonight, I'm going to be teaching people just how to navigate and set up their TradingView account. So when you guys see me doing charts, I'm always doing it on TradingView. But if you're confused about how I get indicators set up, how I choose coins, how I make sure I have the right tools in order, I'm going to teach everybody what you need to know about setting your TradingView up tonight. Look at that happening at 7 p.m. Teacher, any other announcements from you before I do one more coin?
Yeah, no other announcements from me. Tomorrow, a Friday, we'll have Fundamental Friday after the stream, put on by Crux and myself. So we'll be doing that, and that'll be a lot of fun. Big shout out to Crux as well. Crux of Crypto, moderator in YouTube, and so much more. We love him. He's an awesome bro. Faux show. Let's get into the next coin.
All right, I'm seeing people asking for Near. We talked about the AI coins earlier, so let's do it. Near, the coin falling the least out of all the AI coins, but everything in the AI world is falling today after Nvidia beat earnings reports, yet it's still falling. So let's take a look over here. Let's turn off our Lux Algo just for a second. I want to kind of zoom out. This is a formation we've been in here on near, which is a bullish one. It's a falling channel, and if/when, and I think the answer is when, we break above this descending level, let's turn this red. Again, I haven't updated all of my charts. I want to do a better job to help people kind of grasp this, with red being resistance and green being support. If we break above this red line, we could see a major breakout on near to new highs around 1191. It's not new highs for the existence of it, but the new highs for this bull market. Until we break that level, though, we got to focus on what's happening right here. Being back down there in the middle, I'm already kind of leaning towards a very neutral perspective here on near. In fact, right here, yes, we came down and we actually hit our take profit. We have a sell order back here. Guys, anyone who's looking to take profit here, we hit the take profit back here. So this isn't necessarily telling us we have to drop all the way back down to 334, but it is a level clearly where there still is some buying pressure, so keep an eye on it. We recently rejected on that daily smart trail, very similar to Bitcoin and several others. Until we break that, it's not time to be overly bullish on near. But it is giving us opportunity down below. There's a nice order block coming in at 392, but again, not a lot said on the daily chart to give me any type of feeling either way. Even looking at our oscillator, recently we didn't get a sell order, but we got a red reversal, bearish momentum, and the money flow's negative, but it's trending sideways. So neutral, leaning bullish. Why is it leaning bullish? Because that money flow and these excessive sellers look like they're leaving. That could bring a rebound in price action. But to get a better look, got to check out the 4-hour chart. Let's see what it is saying. Now, we're under a sell order here. We broke our smart trail, but we've hit our take profit levels as well. So we're down pretty significantly to former resistance levels. We're sufficing a lot of the bearishness that needs to be had. But you could see a fall down here towards our order block, and I explained that a little bit earlier. This order block is in play back at $4. Could be an interesting scenario, especially when I'm looking at our Lux Algo indicator and oscillators. While we're low with our oscillator and we're getting green reversals, that money flow is still bleeding to the downside. So this is a little harder here, but I think there's a decent chance that over the next couple of days, and this is the 4-hour chart, so anywhere between 24 to maybe 100 hours from now, which is multiple days, maybe something in this little block right here could be tapped right above, right below, or right above $4 is an interesting spot for a potential near entry. That's going to wrap up our Q&A TA. Sometimes I say Q&A, T&A, but that's not how it is. Question and answer, technical analysis. I feel like I explained things well, but still did a good job of going quick and kind of sloppy with it there, giving you guys the details and the numbers you want. With that said, on your guys' way out, make sure to smash that like button, hit subscribe, hit the follow button, share this video. If you're watching on X and you're like, man, I love the bros, how do I help them out? Share every single piece of content you see me and T-Shroom putting out there. It gets it in front of more and more and more eyeballs. We're going to get more and more people inside the bro community. Also, even if you're not ready to jump in and commit to a membership and furthering your education, you're going to want to do that eventually, but join our free Discord where the chat never stops. Links for all of that and more are down below. With that said, we will see you tomorrow, same time, same place, 9 a.m. We're live for PCE, 3 p.m. We'll be there to wrap up the week. Love you guys. See you tomorrow. Adios.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor, the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news, got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros. Investing bros.